We first have up Dave Mathers here. We're going to definitely get him on stage as quick as possible because I think he'd like to get off stage as quick as possible. But he is described as having an inquisitive gearhead since birth, a motorcyclist for 56 years, a retired master mechanic and amateur writer of hundreds of motorcycle-related stories. Please give a huge, warm Cincinnati welcome to Dave Mathers.
So I was raised in a really nice neighborhood, and we lived in a huge house. Had a big picture window overlooking a busy street. And I spent innumerable hours with my nose pressed up against that window, watching the world go by. Cars and trucks and buses on an endless stream. But I noticed after a while that there was very few motorcycles that ever went by. But when they did, I paid attention because they were faster and louder than anything else. And the rider always sat up so straight and tall, and he was so proud. I just thought that was the neatest thing. So I asked my mother why there was no motorcycles went by the house, and she bristled. She says, "I'll tell you why there's no motorcycles here, because this is a nice neighborhood, and people that ride motorcycles are evil. They're low-class white trash, they're troublemakers, and they're just no good. And they're all going to hell. Every one of them's going to hell because they don't go to church on Sunday." So back to the window. So across the street and perpendicular to my window, there's a series of apartment buildings, and these are nice buildings, and no Section 8 here. And the people that live there are nice, and they dress nice, and they don't cause any trouble, and they go to church on Sunday. So behind that row of apartment buildings, there's a dead-end driveway that connects all the garages, and it's the most boring driveway in the universe. Nothing ever happens in this driveway. And then one day, a motorcycle pulls in that driveway down to the second building and pulls right into the open garage door into the garage. Well, I'm out the front door so fast that my feet don't hit the ground till I'm halfway across the street. And I skid to a stop, and my heart skips a beat. There's two motorcycles in there. And I'm looking around, and there's a row of empty frames with a pile of motors behind them. Back on the back wall, there's transmissions stacked up like cordwood. There's a pile of rims over here with no wheels on them, and a pile of wheels with no rims. A real long high shelf in the back walls lined with gas tanks. And below that is another shelf with leather seats. It's pretty neat stuff. So there's some magical force pulling me in. I can feel it. I don't know what it is. It's the smell. And it's not one individual smell. It's a combination. There's just that greasy smell from motorcycles. Then there's the rubber smell from the tires. And there's the leather smell from all the seats. And there's that one particular smell of really stale gasoline. Everybody knows that one. But there's something else. There's something that's binding all these odors into a really fine fragrance, better than the best French perfume. And that binding agent was the oil dripping off of that motor onto the hot exhaust pipe. I'm 8 years old. I've found nirvana. I want to run away from home and sleep under those frames and use the seat as my pillow. I want to live here. I want to smell like this. So through the garage, the door from the garage to the basement comes Ed. Now Ed is kind, gentle, and patient as a saint. And he gives me a tour of the place. And after that's done, I had 1,000 questions, and Ed had 1,000 answers. At the end of the tour, Ed says, "You ever see my garage door open? Come on back." Well, I took terrible advantage of that invitation, and that summer I spent hundreds of hours in Ed's garage. And sometimes Ed would let me help him work on his motorcycle. I'd put a bolt on or take a nut off, or I'd hold something for him. And Ed would always answer my questions. I said, "Ed," I says, "what's this? You're always doing this. What's this?" And he didn't just tell me, "Well, it makes it go faster." He explained about the cable when you twist it, and it goes down here and pulls this thing up and makes this thing do this. That's the way Ed was. I said, "All right." I said, "Well, what's this?" "You're always doing that." And he explained to me what it did and how it worked, and it made the motor start. Ed explained everything that your right hand had to do to ride a motorcycle. You know, this thing, and then the left one had another one, and a couple of little levers, and a bigger lever, and a row of switches and buttons. And he told me about this thing that shifts the gears, and what your right foot and your left foot had to do. And not only did he just tell you, but he explained it to you. And Ed talked to me like I was a real person. He didn't talk to me like I was some snot-nosed 8-year-old. He had the patience of a saint. Ed let me sit on his motorcycle. And I took many, many long-distance imaginary trips on his motorcycles whenever I was there. Another thing Ed taught me how to do was how to get on and off a motorcycle without dragging my shoes across the paintwork. Patience of a saint, yes. So this went on for quite a while, and I really enjoyed my time at Ed's garage. And towards the end of summer, after one of my just great motorcycle trips on Ed's motorcycle, I came to the realization that if only my feet could touch the ground, I could ride this motorcycle. So I went home and I told my mother, I said, "Mom, when I get bigger, I'm going to have a motorcycle." "Over my dead body," she says. "Not as long as you live in my house, not as long as you sleep under my roof will you ever have a motorcycle. And besides that, I know where you've been. I know where you go every day, and you're not allowed to go over there anymore. That man's going to lead you down the road to ruin. You are forbidden." And then she sent me away for a short stint in solitary confinement to consider my evil ways. So then I'm thinking, you know, I've been a pretty good little boy. I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't steal, I'm obedient. I go to church on Sunday, and I'm nice to people, except for my sister. This day changed my life. It was a game changer. From that day on, I became an apprentice to the devil. And I learned how to lie and deceit. So the next morning, I'm out the back door. "Mom, I'm going over to Mikey's to play." My mother knows Mikey. By this time, we've had a dozen sleepovers. Our families go to church together. All us kids go to the same school. Mikey's dad's my baseball coach, and my dad and his dad belong to the same organization. Mom knows Mikey. Well, I know Mikey too. I know Mikey will cover for me if I get caught in a lie. So now I'm out the back door. I got to go way around the block, come through somebody's backyard, and stand at the back edge of Ed's building and make sure my mom's not looking, and sneak into the garage. All's good. So now I have lied to my mother, I've deceived my mother, and I'm a sinner. And it feels good. So My relationship with Ed and his garage continued on for the rest of the summer. Without my mother knowing, of course. One morning in late August, my mom storms into my room yelling, "I told you so. I told you this guy was just no good, low-class white trash. He's nothing but a troublemaker and a lawbreaker." And she throws the newspaper down on my bed and storms out of the room. Pick up the paper, there's a picture Ed on the front page, sitting behind a police car wearing handcuffs. So, according to the story, the police observed Ed doing wheelies, donuts, and burnouts and figure eights on Columbia Parkway at 4 o'clock in the morning. Really, Ed? Nice people aren't out at 4 o'clock in the morning. So the story continues that after a short high-speed pursuit, the police caught up with Ed. And he had a almost empty pint of whiskey in one pocket and some marijuana, whatever that is, in another pocket. I never saw Ed again. Gone. So we're going to fast forward about 10 or 12 years. And that whole time, my mom, whenever she had the opportunity, put the dig in. Over my dead body, not if you live in my house, not if you sleep under my roof. It was a constant mantra. Whenever I saw a motorcycle, she'd start up on me. So behind my mom's house, there was a 2-car garage, 2. One side was pristine, and that's where Mother kept her car. The other side, not so much. It kind of looked like a junkyard. And there was bicycles and tricycles and little red wagons and abandoned soapbox derby car and ladders and ropes and shovels and rakes. You get the idea. That was my side of the garage. So one day I come down the driveway and I'm riding a loud, smoking, stinking, leaking BSA 650 Lightning. So I had to rearrange the garage a little bit to make room so I could get the door shut. And I turn around to go in the house, and there's my mother. I remember the part about lies and deceit. By this time I've gotten pretty good at it. Wait, Mom, wait. It's not mine. It's not mine. Wait. It's Mikey's. And it doesn't run right, and I'm going to fix it for her. So I was able to get by the wagging finger and sneak into the house. She never said a word. Never mentioned it again. And I worked on that bike a lot, and rode it a lot, and liked it a lot. She never mentioned it. Not too long after that, I acquired one of those little Italian Harley Davidsons, the Aramachis, real basket case. I mean, we're talking a bare frame, 2 boxes of parts, and a bucket full of bolts and brackets. But it had one of those beautiful chrome-plated peanut gas tanks. And if you were building a chopper back then, this is the tank you had to have. It was worth its weight in gold, and I knew it. So I put the word out, and a couple days later, some guys I know show up to have a look at it. So imagine the look on my mother's face when she drives down the driveway and there's half a dozen iron horsemen in her garage. We're talking the real deal here. We're talking black motorcycle boots with silver studs, greasy blue jeans underneath their black leather chaps, bandana, lots of beard, lots of hair, and the sleeveless black leather vest with their colors on it. The real deal. These were 6 of the most genuine motorcycle gang members that you wouldn't want in your garage. So these guys were evil, wicked, mean, and nasty looking. And the biggest one of them, the biggest, most evil, wicked, mean and nasty looking one of them. He comes prancing out of the garage, opens up the door of my mother's car, and in his best Eddie Haskell voice, he says, "Hi, Mrs. Mathers. How are you today?" It's Mikey. And my mother knows it's Mikey. So while Mikey's carrying my mother's groceries into the house, I go back to the garage and close the deal. She never said a word. She never mentioned this episode ever. But until the day she died, she always had some way to put that knife in and twist it just a little bit. David, if you don't change your ways, you're going to turn into scooter trash. David, if you don't get rid of those friends you have, you're going to turn into scooter trash. Well, I didn't change my ways, and I didn't get rid of those friends. I went out and found a whole bunch of them right here in this room. But in my mother's defense, she was right. I turned into scooter trash. Blah, blah, blah. That's my motorcycle story, and I'm sticking to it. Thanks for listening.
Dave, that's an incredible story. And he does highlight what the theme of tonight is, which is garaged. We are looking for stories of anything motorcycle related about being garaged.